Okay, next question is from Izzy Davis. My girl Izzy That Fruit Bat. Check out her YouTube channel and Instagram. She asked me a simple question. How often do you squat? Simple yet complex. So I'll take this opportunity just to talk about sort of my fitness routine and how I'm navigating bodybuilding and stuff like that. Since the beginning, I've been following a one body part per workout sort of style. There's sort of two camps that you can come into when it comes to lifting heavy. It's either like in the weight lifting gym. So I'm not saying CrossFit per se or calisthenics, but when it comes to just the big three compound movements: squat, deadlift, and bench press, and then some isolation stuff. You can either take an approach where you do sort of full body workouts, maybe 3 or 4 times a week. So that means in one workout, you're hitting your chest, you're hitting your back, you're hitting your legs all at the same time. Obviously not paying too much attention on each muscle group, because it's not like you're going to be in the gym for 4 hours a day. So you're taking maybe your hour of lifting and splitting it up amongst many different body parts and exercises. Now, the route that I decided to take, that is definitely the mainstream bodybuilder professional style, which tends to work best, is to you have focus workouts. So right now I work out 5 days in the gym, heavy, so lifting. I have a chest day where I just hit, my pecs and my chest. I have a back day, a shoulder and ab day. So I pair those two together because abs are one of those things that it's just different than doing a bench press. I usually try to do abs 3 times a week, but on shoulder day, I'll do a little more weighted ab exercises. And then we have a leg day and an arm day. So those make up my 5 workouts. And then in between, I pick 2 days to take a day off each time where I just rest and I eat a lot and don't work out, because you need your body to recover in order to build muscle. So the answer, how often do I squat? I really only squat once a week. But when I do leg day, it is a brutal obliteration of my legs. It's actually the craziest workout I do. Legs are the hardest for me, for most people, because it makes up makes up half of your whole body. So and just the amount of weight that you can push on your legs is so much that it just hurts so bad in the best way, in terms of your soreness afterwards and in the middle of the workout. So a typical leg day for me will take about an hour. I'll start off on the squat rack. So I'm always going to start doing my hardest, most important, impactful exercise, which is the compound movement. So on my chest day, I'll start out with bench press. On my back day, I'll start out with pull-ups and deadlifts. And on my leg day, I start out with squats. So I'll warm up maybe for 2 or 3 sets with lightweight, like a 25 on each side, then a 45 on each side. And I'll do 5 working sets, which means 5 sets that I push as hard as I possibly can. I cannot do one more rep when it's time for me to rack it. Usually I try to stay with squats, the 3 to 7 rep range. So in those 5 working sets right now, I'm pushing about 250 to 275 pounds for about 3 or 4 reps. And that's where I'm at in squats. So I'll do that 5 times. And then I do this thing called a pyramid, which is absolutely epic and terrible, but you can tell it's really working. After I rack it, after that 5th set, that is so terribly painful, I immediately take off about half of the weight, and then I'll immediately do 5 reps, rack it, put on maybe 20 more pounds, 5 reps, rack it. So I'll do a pyramid so I'll go down and then I'll build up maybe over 3 sets, and then I'll go back down over 3 sets. And it's awesome. You take no rest in between. It's called a pyramid. You can check it out. So in that only just squats, I've already done a little over 10 sets of heavy and then the pyramid. And then I'll go on to do 5 sets of leg press on the machine, 5 sets of quads, leg extensions, 5 sets of hamstring curls, and then calves, which takes me about an hour 15 minutes. But really, I only do it once a week because it takes about 3 or 4 days for my legs to feel perfect again to go push it. You never want to work out a muscle group if you're looking to build muscle if your muscle's sore, because the muscle fibers, which are the things that make your muscles look bigger and grow, they need to heal before you tear them up and break them up again. So great question, and I love talking about that stuff. Next, from Harry Green, different than Harry Reid. Harry Green has been on the podcast, so is Izzy. I should have mentioned that. I don't remember which episode, but both Harry Green and Izzy have been. Harry is in Colorado Springs. He trains at the Olympic Training Center for pentathlon. He's trying to get into the 2016 Olympics. It's like the craziest sport, takes an insane amount of athletic talent and skill. It's horseback riding, running, swimming, shooting, and fencing, all in one event. It's amazing. But he asked me the simple question, do you drink coffee or tea? I'm guessing he's asking that for a few reasons, because the coffee thing is like, do you drink caffeine? Some people are against caffeine, some people are for it. And then I'm sure he's asking it also because I say I eat a fully raw diet, so technically is, burning coffee beans or burning leaves not raw if you drink it. Here's my perspective on it. For one, it's not like something that I want to pick little fights over. Like, that's the most meaningless stuff when it comes to the vegan movement. If you're worrying about if you're raw eating tea, it's kind of crazy. But personally, I've not drinking coffee in 3 years. When I went vegan, it was sort of a big awakening in my entire life of evaluating my practices. I stopped drinking alcohol or doing any drugs 3 years ago at the same time when I went vegan, and I sort of paired coffee into that. I was never an intense coffee drinker, but I definitely dabbled and I felt the effects of it, and I liked to drink it once in a while. So it was one of those vices that I decided to give up. There's a lot of studies and data you can find about the benefits of coffee and caffeine. Then there's so much stuff that you can find that it's completely bad for you. My exposure to it is, for one, my dad, who's a great, amazing person, who's gone pescatarian now for months because of me and because he believes in it. So props to my dad. But he's the kind of guy that needs to drink 3 espressos a day, including one the first thing he wakes up, in order to function. And when I see that, and then I see it amongst not only my dad, so many people, so many students at my school, they have to have their coffee in the morning in order to function. But really, if you look at it, it's very similar to me needing my, big smoothie. Podcast listeners, you can't see this, but I'm holding up my big banana blueberry smoothie I'm drinking. I need that too to function in the morning, but those things are very different. Coffee, it's very low in nutrient density and actually healing your body. You're not getting any food. You're just eating a stimulant. It's like a concentrated powder. It's similar to taking a pill, and it tricks you into thinking that you are completely nourished and you can function and you can think and you're awake. It tricks you for a few hours, and then you absolutely crash because you haven't actually fueled your body with food, which is the stuff that you need. You need real vitamins, real nutrients, and carbohydrates to lift you up. So the reason that I chose and still don't ever drink coffee is because I think it's an excuse for people who aren't nourishing themselves properly with food to think that their body's okay. But in the end, I think that can have huge repercussions if you substitute, every morning having the potential to have a juice or a smoothie, or oatmeal or anything, good and healthy and plant-based, that will have a lot of health benefits for you over the long term of just bringing in vitamins and minerals and nutrients and into your body. And if you consistently substitute that with something that is not good for your long-term health, I think that can have repercussions, which is why I don't do it. Now, when it comes to tea, that's an interesting question. Obviously, when I was eating cooked foods on a vegan diet, I was drinking tons of tea casually with your friends at night, whatever. But when I went raw, that was the kind of thing am I allowed to drink tea anymore? And here's the way I think of it. Right now, I'm only eating, I've been for the last 8 months eating only raw forms of calories. And, calorically, I don't think tea really counts as a food because you're taking leaves and you're steeping them in water and drinking flavored water. I'm sure you can say you get 1 calorie, maybe not even, when you're drinking a cup of tea, but it is not a legitimate calorie source. So I think if you can say you're eating a raw diet and drink tea, I think that's totally fine and kosher. I've gotten into kombucha brewing, which is something I can talk about, and that involves, tea and cane sugar. I use raw organic cane sugar, and you steep tea leaves, it's actually really interesting how I've learned so much through brewing kombucha that tea comes from a specific plant. You either have like green tea varieties or black tea varieties, or the two big ones, but they actually comes from the exact same plant. The only reason that it tastes differently is the growing conditions, the soil, what kind of flowers were around it, what part of the world it was grown in. Super interesting. But you brew tea and then you add sugar and you add a culture. It's called a SCOBY. It looks like a big loogie. My mom thinks it's the most disgusting thing in the world. I think it's really awesome. And you get one from a friend, or you can even order one online, and it's alive. So you put it in your chilled tea after you've brewed it and mixed in the sugar, and it feeds off of those carbohydrates in order to multiply, double its size in 7 days. So when you measure the sugar content, again, sugar is not something that I think is bad. I think it's the ultimate nutrient. But if you do measure the sugar content of your kombucha, when you first put in the SCOBY with all that sugar, there's a lot. And then because it literally eats that sugar and grows another SCOBY, the sugar content is much lower on your final product. It's very interesting. But yes, so I started to drink kombucha that I make myself from green and black tea, which has caffeine. So yes, I'm getting in a little bit of caffeine. I drink it at night usually with my dinner. I drink one bottle, 16-ounce bottle a day, and I see no ill effects of it. It doesn't keep me up at night. I don't have headaches in the morning, so I completely am cool with drinking tea and drinking kombucha, and I enjoy it a lot. Okay, next question is pretty intense one. I really want to answer it though. It's from Kendall Boyers. She also has a YouTube channel. I think it's Raw Cali Kid, I believe. And she says, what has been your best moment on your journey to consciousness? Whoa. Regarding veganism and yoga. And who is someone who really, really has made an impact in your life? Wow. Okay, I will do my best to answer this off the cuff, because I also haven't really I looked for a second at most of these questions, but I don't have formulated answers. So this is total improvisation. But a few things come to my mind specifically. So let's read it again. What has been your best moment on your journey to consciousness? The best thing I've done for myself, there's really two things, and I don't separate them. It is becoming a yoga teacher, or really just starting to practice yoga. It doesn't even need to happen by getting certified, but starting a consistent yoga practice while also changing my diet to eating compassionately and eating what I think is the natural human diet that allows your body to function properly. And those two things happen together, and it's not a coincidence. Like I'm a practical person. I am driven most of the time by science and fact when it comes to ethical stuff or even nutritional stuff, but also because I've experienced a profound change psychologically and spiritually in my life, I consider myself as a science experiment, and I consider this science too, because it's real. I'm not the only person that has experienced this. But those two things, veganism and yoga, have come together at the same time about 3 years ago. Yoga, a lot of people think of only the westernized version, which is like getting into handstand and jumping around on a yoga mat in a sweaty classroom. That's sure, you can call that a form of yoga, but that is not inherently what yoga is. Yoga means union. It's this concept of taking the things in the world that seem separate, maybe the humans versus the animals versus the plants and just everything in the entire universe, and honoring that all of our lives are not independent and individual. We are all manifestations of this one divine. You can call it God, you can call it nature, you can call it bliss. It really doesn't matter, but it's just this organism that is life, and that we are all a part of it. And if we were taken out, the whole picture would be changed. And we are a valuable, important puzzle piece in that beautiful image. So one thing that really was big for me, there's multiple, and I'll list a few, was one, hiking the John Muir Trail. I went vegan weeks after doing it. I was actually in a very interesting point in my life where I had been a vegetarian for 5 years, and then I actually got into eating some animal products after going to Indonesia and killing animals for myself, and sort of was navigating that world, just testing out my values. And on the John Muir Trail, I did it by myself. It's a 225-mile rural wilderness backpacking route in the Sierra Nevada mountains in California. It starts at Yosemite Valley, and then it goes to the highest peak in the lower 48 states, which is Mount Whitney at 14,500 something feet. And I was 19 years old. I was on my gap year, and I'd already biked across the country and lived in Southeast Asia for a bit. And I did this journey. It took me 16 days completely by myself. I saw a few people along the way, but I had a lot of hours every single day carrying a big backpack, hiking in literally the most beautiful place in the entire world. And let's just say I got a lot of time to think during that time, for better and for worse. A lot of scary thoughts coming in and evaluating my life and about to start college, but a lot of just self-awareness and understanding myself to a level that I had no idea was possible. And so just being in nature and being with yourself and being able to focus on yourself is one of the things that's changed me the most. Next, what I think of is going to a yoga festival, actually, called Shakti Fest, put on by the bigger company that puts on Bhakti Fest. They put on a few yoga festivals a year. And again, I went to this thing by myself. It is interesting that some of my most formative consciousness experiences have been solo, but the next one I'll say is community-based. Shakti Fest is too, because I went by myself, but it's this festival out in Joshua Tree in the desert, in mid-May, super warm, and it's just this community of hundreds of people getting together and just loving each other and listening to, yoga music and practicing yoga and eating vegetarian food and just chilling and meeting people. And, I was just a kid who went on my own, and I remember the first day I got there, I parked my car and I was walking into the event, and just this older man just looked at me and felt some energy and just put his arms out, and we hugged for 3 minutes. Have you ever just hugged a stranger for that long, hearts pressed against each other? And I was like, holy crap, that felt amazing. I freaking loved that experience. Sure, in the first probably 20 seconds, I thought it was weird. And then those, my worrying about myself and my self-conscious just faded away, and I became one with this random dude. And that's when holy crap, that's what yoga's about. That was union. That was yoga. We weren't in a fancy posture. We weren't chanting about Hindu gods. We just hugged each other. And that moment right there was when I said to myself, okay, there's a lot of inner work to do. There's a lot of stuff to explore about how to feel the best you possibly can and connect with people. And I would say Shakti Fest was definitely one of those experiences. If you liked the video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. Thank you, and make sure to subscribe to the channel right up here. If you want to see more what I'm eating, my vegan muscle gains, follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. It's all at Plantriotic, and make sure to check out the Plantriotic podcast on iTunes. Have an awesome day.